Hey everybody. So carrying on from what we've just been through in the lesson, we're going to go through an exam style question on anthropometrics. So if we have a quick look at the question paper and then at the question even, and then we'll go through how to solve it. So here's the question. Now what's important about these questions is that, as you can see, there's got some anthropometric data on the table, and this is what we're going to have to really sift through and look into. So as you can see, I've got for the anthropometric data we've been through, you've got hand length, hand breadth, thumb breadth, thumb length, forefinger, tip breadth, and so on. The question: anthropometric data of hands is important when determining the size of a computer games controller to fit the greatest number of consumers. This shows how the controller is held, and this shows a plan view of the controller itself. What's important here is looking at buttons A and button B. Now, the question, if we scroll down, deals with using data from the table, answer the following question. So user group analysis determined the measurement A should ideally be 1.2 times the length of the user's thumb. Calculate the value for measurement A based on the average thumb length across the adult population, assuming there are an equal number of men and women. This is the key thing to take into account, assuming there are an equal number of men and women. So that's going to give me my step one. So that's the first bit of information. The next bit of information that we need is 1.2 times. So when I look, equal number of men and women. So I'm looking at the 50th percentile for both men and for women, which means that when I go down to thumb length, I'm going to take, for men is 51 and for women is 47. So now I'm going to come back up here. It's easier. Now, remember what we need to do is divide it into 4 sections. I'm working from a very uncomfortable position today, so my apologies if it zooms in and out. So our information, if we remember, what we need to know is thumb length average based on controller A. So like A is what we're looking at. So this is what we need to find. Next, the formulas that we need to use is basically the average formula or the mean formula. So if you remember what the mean is the total sum of components divided by the number of components that we have. So I know that I've got the sum of 51 plus 47. So if we go into our equation here, so we've got 51 plus 47 divided by 2, and that is equal to, give me 1 minute, 49. The next thing that we need to look at is that I know that the percentage is, or the average, if we go back to the question. So if we look here again, that the question is asking that A should ideally be 1.2 times the length of the user's thumb. So if the average user's thumb based on both men and women is 49, then all I need to do is multiply 49 by 1.2, which will give me a minute, 58.8 millimeters. Okay, so then my answer is going to be over here. And remember, units of measurement are going to be important. So that is part 1 of my question. Now, let's have a look at part 2. Okay, so let's have a look at the second part. So the second part of it is asking us, so it says, button B at the front of the game's controller relies on the user having a forefinger length of 65 millimeters or greater. Calculate the approximate percentage of adult women that are excluded from being able to use this button. So what that tells me is that here, what I need to focus on is my forefinger length with my index finger, and these are the values I need to take into account. Now my value is 65, which means that the percentage is going to fall into this category here. So I know that 5% is 60, the length at 5% is 60, the average across the country. The length at 50%, the average length of a woman's forefinger is 67. I know that the forefinger needs to be 65 millimeters or greater, so we're going to use this information. So I've already started the table. Now what we need to look at, info, the forefinger length is 65 or greater. The percentile that it fits into is the 5 to 50% bracket. That difference, or the amount of percent that we have to take into account, is 45%. We know that at 5% a woman's forefinger's length is 60 millimeters, and I know that at 50% the woman's forefinger length, or the average length, is 67 millimeters. The first step is finding out the difference between that. So I got 45%. I need to use, if that's a 7 millimeter difference, so from 5% to 50%, there's a difference in 7 millimeters. To find out what 1 millimeter will get me, I essentially have to look at dividing 45 by 7. We're going to come on to this later, but in the meantime, let's look at the formulas used. So it's essentially a ratio formula. So it's a ratio of the percentage used to the amount of millimeters difference in that percentage. So it's percentage based on related to difference. So it's a ratio formula basically, and the calculations for it will be as follows. So I know to calculate 1 millimeter, or how much percentage 1 millimeter is within this range here, it's going to be 45 divided by 7, which gives me 6.42% per millimeter. So to break that down, or to make that clearer, if this is my, in fact let's do it down here, if this is my range from 0%, this is my range from 5%, and this is my 50% range. That whole distance from there to there is 7 millimeters, which means that for each millimeter that we span across, if this is my 0 point, that will come out 6.42 each time along that position. So all I'm doing is calculating for each millimeter how much percent I need to add on to it. So I break down 45% into a percentage per millimeter for 7 millimeters. Okay, so that's the first step. The next step is where we're going to come back to this section here, where the 50% length is going to be 67. Now I know that 65 millimeters or greater is the recommended index finger length. The difference between the 50 percentile of 67 and 65 is 2 millimeters. If I know that for each millimeter it's 6.42%, I know that from here to here is going to be 6.42 multiplied by 2, which equals 12.86. Now here's the important part to finish this question. The amount excluded is going to be here. So from here to here, which is 65 millimeters, this percentage here is 12.86. I need to find out the remaining percentage that's left from 0 to 50. So all from this part backwards is going to be excluded. They are not suitable for or they won't be able to use that controller. So therefore, all I need to do is subtract 50 minus 12.86, and that will give me my answer. So 50 minus 12.86 is equal to, 1 minute, 37.14%. And this right here is my percentage excluded. So hopefully that was clear. If not, let me know and I'll try to make it a bit clearer for you. But have a go at the question now that has been posted and let me know how you get on. Remember to submit your work on Google Classroom. Everything is there to be submitted. Thank you.